The San Francisco 49ers are one of the most talented teams across the entire NFL. Wherever you look, it seems like they're brimming with talent, but that doesn't mean there isn't points of concern on their roster. And possibly one of the biggest points of concern going into this 2023 season is what's going to happen at that right guard spot. But before we jump into today's video, I want to take a moment and say this is a part of a multi-part series. So if you're interested in learning more about the 49ers offensive line coach and really their philosophy, I have that broken down in an earlier video, as well as talking about Trent Williams. This is the third part of this series. With that out of the way, let's jump right into Spencer Burford and how he's going to impact the 49ers going forward. While Spencer Burford played last year, a lot of his weaknesses were kind of hidden because Daniel Brunskill rotated in a lot with Burford when he needed the rest. This ultimately led Burford to be more effective when he entered the game. But here's the thing, with Brunskill leaving, Burford has been told by Chris Forrester this is his job to lose. And while the Niners did bring in some players during free agency and the draft, none of them really seriously challenged Burford for the starting gig. So in today's video, I want to examine Burford a little bit more deeply. Throughout this video, I hope to cover what the Niners value in the offensive guard briefly before moving into Spencer Burford's athletic profile and his football career up to this point, before finally concluding what we can realistically expect out of Spencer Burford given some of his year 2 jumps. While I've broken down the 49ers offensive line philosophy and really their offensive philosophy a lot more deeply in a previous video, I want to briefly touch on the offensive guard position and what really role it plays. These guys are constantly pulling in the run game, and if they're not pulling, you'll often see them trying to scrape up and get to the second level. What this requires is a guard that has great mobility, and perhaps equally important in Kyle Shanahan's complex system is a coach that's able to keep these guys up to date with what Kyle Shanahan wants them to do. This also requires a lot on the player's part because Kyle Shanahan's offense is known for being one of the most complex. With that out of the way, let's jump into Spencer Burford's athletic profile to see if he fits the athletic freak the 49ers prioritize. Coming out of college, Spencer Burford was really impressive as a prospect. His height was 6'4" and his weight was 304 pounds. His arm length was 34 inches and 3/4. Very long, and that's great for an offensive lineman. Let's get into his combine results. His 40-yard dash came in at an impressive 5.19 seconds, and his 10-yard split of 1.8 seconds. This is better than the Niners' last offensive guard, Lincoln Tomlinson, who ran his 40-yard dash in 5.33 seconds and his 10-yard split in 1.89 seconds. He proved to be extremely effective in Kyle Shanahan's scheme, and I think that Burford will be able to have the same level of success just based solely on his athletic profile. But let's look at him as a football player a little bit more deeply. Burford started his football career at Wagner High School in San Antonio, Texas, and he was phenomenal, being labeled as a 4-star recruit. Despite this, he decided to stay in San Antonio and sign with UTSA, and he was the best rated prospect to ever sign with that team. So while Burford selected maybe a little bit of an unconventional team, I think this was great for multiple reasons for Burford. The first big one is he got to stay at home, and having that support is crucial for some people. And not just that, Burford then had the opportunity to start right away for this program, getting meaningful snaps many players just can't get. I mean, Trey Lance is still struggling to get snaps. During his time in college, Burford earned a ton of snaps and a lot of accolades. During his freshman year, he started all 10 games at left tackle, earning Conference USA All-Freshman Team. Burford continued to start throughout his UTSA career, and his best year probably came in 2021, where he started 12 games, 1 at right tackle and 11 at left tackle, but he was named the first team all-league pick. So this is a time where scouts had the opportunity to dive a little bit deeper into Burford's game and examine his strengths as well as his weaknesses. His strengths definitely had to be his broad shoulders and athletic build, just really his athletic profile showed on film. He attacks the backside and cuts off blockers with the proper angles. He also has starting experience both at tackle and guard spots. He had good foot chop and he gets pass rushers effectively. But he did have some weaknesses perhaps that carried over a little bit into the pros, and that was ineffective run blocking technique sometimes and had narrow base as a drive blocker. What could help is if Burford added mass. He's very athletic, but kinda needed to get an NFL body. The Niners though picked up Burford in round 4 with pick 29. I think this was a huge steal because even as a rookie, he made an impact. And going into this year, I think he'll make a bigger impact. But how did he actually perform his rookie year? Well, like many offensive linemen, he had his ups and downs. But luckily for him, he's being coached by one of the best offensive line coaches across the entire league in Chris Forrester. Chris Forrester was able to set up a kind of unique situation in which Burford rotated with Brunskill. This did several things. This allowed Burford to work on his technique in certain plays, but also get the rest so he just wasn't flat out dominated at points. Burford had a strength in pass protection, but just wasn't up to par in his run protection last year. To examine how Burford actually stacked up, we need to look no farther than PFF. According to PFF, Burford allowed 4 sacks and 18 pressures as a pass blocker, which actually isn't terrible as a rookie, especially a 5th round selection essentially. He also received a well below average grade as a run blocker, receiving a grade of 49.1. However, jumping into this season, as I mentioned, Burford is the unquestioned starter. And he has made improvements that I think will be impactful on how he plays this upcoming season. Probably the biggest thing is that Burford is much bigger, is really walking on the field, carrying himself differently. He looks like he has a lot more power than he did his rookie year. Ultimately, this is what you expect out of an offensive lineman going into the NFL. Often they take 1 year to get their NFL bodies. I mean, even Aaron Banks didn't even play as a rookie. So going into this year, I'm extremely encouraged by Spencer Burford's rookie season and the tutelage he's received so far under Chris Forrester. I think that this spot on the offensive line will not be an issue. And honestly, Burford could be one of the 49ers' best offensive linemen this year. He has the athletic profile that the 49ers covet. And now with the size and strength he has added this offseason, I expect Burford to actually dominate this entire NFL year. But these are just my thoughts, and I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. I also want to thank my members for the support. It truly means a ton. And if you guys are interested in more videos on the Niners offensive line, I have 2 more parts of this series out. The first part explains the 49ers offensive line and their philosophy on offense, and the second part breaks down one of the best tackles in the entire game in Trent Williams. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and pick one of these videos. And if you did enjoy this video, it would mean a ton if you liked and subscribed. I hope you guys all have a great day.